So I like to talk about something that I haven't really spoken about, but it's been an aspect within my own personal life that has been um, exceptionally helpful and supportive and uplifting in my own journey, as well as many other men whom I have the privilege of um, being in consistent connection and dialogue with. And what that is semen retention. Um, I'll try to be just to give a macro of what that means. For those of you who may be watching this or coming across this term for the first time, I will speak a little bit to that, what it means, as well as a bit about my own personal experience and why I highly, highly, highly recommend it. So, semen retention is you think of semen, you think of when you're performing the act of sex or masturbation or whatever aspect that is expelling this life force energy from your body. um, Retention is actually intentionally retaining that, because that is the most powerful source of energy throughout the whole entire body. I mean, it's powerful enough to birth a newborn, to bring life and existence into this world. And it's something that on a societal level, I mean, there's so many things and so many different aspects out there that um, if one is not mindful of, or if one is not aware of how this may feel within their body on an energetic level, there can feel like there's this tension to release, this tension to, if you have this over surplus of energy, to release it, to dissipate it. And even beyond that, if you have grown up, you know, from a young age watching porn, and I know this is something that affects many, many men around the whole entire world, um, then it's even more paramount to explore with how your body reacts and feels to retaining this life force energy that, again, is the most powerful source of energy um, in human form. So this has personally, it's been a practice of mine off and on for, I want to say, it'll be almost 3 years in another month. Or, yeah, around 3 years at this particular time. And what I mean by that is the intentional cultivation of recognizing not only that energy, but then doing a better job of transmuting it. And what I mean by transmuting it is, instead of, even through the sexual act, instead of feeling as if I need to reach orgasm, you know, to climax, to feel complete, it's a matter of being able to utilize and move that energy throughout the body in a way that allows it to be more healing and allows it to be more energizing, rather than dissipating it and then becoming tired, losing all these nutrients, losing all this vitality over and over and over and over again. And, as someone who previously was a very active porn watcher, for almost, I would say for almost 20 years, about 17, 18 years, was a chronic watcher of porn. I understand how whenever you shift your body on a response level of creating a new habitual pattern on a physiological level, not only physiologically, but also neurologically in the brain, um, there's a certain change and there's a certain level of, like with anything, when you're growing or you're moving beyond a certain level, there is a certain level of resistance. And what actually came up for me the first time I intentionally chose to um, retain my seed, for lack of better terms, it was even earlier than that 3 year period that I mentioned um, a few moments ago. I was at that particular period of time, and this would have been about this would have been about 6, 7 years ago. Um, I was all over the place. The man that is speaking to you right now, I don't know if you would have recognized him if you would have came across me 7 years ago. I was drinking heavily. I was womanizing, spending a ton of time in the nightlife. Um, Felt like I was really, on the surface, I had all of the gadgets or the tools that maybe society deems as happiness or as successful. I was working in the for the number one value sports franchise in the world. I was making a healthy 6 figure income. I was living in the heart of the district in the city in which I was living. And I had this routine of this pattern. Like every weekend I was going out, I was drinking, and my focus, outside of work was really towards women and towards these pleasures of um, ultimately doing things for a particular period of time that, while I think intuitively I had this sense that what I was doing was not truly serving me, that's like I mentioned before with the physiological or the habitual pattern, you're so used to doing something over and over and over again that you become comfortable in continuing to do that. So for me, this reached a climax. Um, I won't go into excruciating details, but I was arrested for public intoxication. Um, I was hosting a couple of friends um, at my college university. Just traveling into town and wanting to show them, not only the sport football game that was going on at that time, but also show them um, some of the different aspects that I really enjoyed about being at that university. And of course, as I mentioned before, women were at the very top of that echelon. And what ended up happening was the very first night that I was there, I ended up just going to the bars and drinking, and then got into a bit of a verbal confrontation with the police officer. And that ended up leading to me being put in jail for a public intoxication. And it was interesting because while I was there, for the first time, I, from a place of force, I was forced to slow down. So the whole, work, 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 drinking, going out, club scene, nightlife, these particular aspects that really have become such a habitual cycle that I really hadn't created any time to just be with myself, to really look at myself and to really sense and see from a very deep perspective and deep level what it was that I had been creating in my life based off of my decisions and based off of what I was doing. As I mentioned before, there was this intuitive sense of knowing, like, man, like something may not feel fully right here, but there wasn't the deep awareness because I myself wouldn't allow myself to slow down. You know, I just kept doing what I was doing and doing and doing and doing over and over and over again. So while I was actually in jail and I'm sitting down, I'm by myself, you know, I'm there for a night, you know, probably there for like maybe like 12 hours. But within that time, I was really able to be with myself. And in being with myself, I was able to ask questions like, how did I end up here? You know, how did I create this? What am I doing? Like, what are my actions leading to? And you know, one thing that really dawned on me as well during that particular period was, you know, I had become really involved in the pickup artist scene. You know, I had read a couple of books, and you know, with myself, I have this, for lack of better terms, you can call it an obsessive personality. And I mean that in a healthy way, but it can also be skewed towards the other way if there's not a certain level of mindfulness to that. And what I mean by that is when I'm into something, I'm really into it, and I want to spend all my time, you know, doing it, or I'll really focus. My brain naturally just wants to solve problems and put pieces together. And when you naturally have that disposition inside of your brain, and you are, you know, in this place where you are channeling that energy towards things or aspects that may or may not be useful, then what ends up happening is you just continue to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, like I mentioned before. So in this particular moment, you know, while I'm there, I think to myself, I'm like, you know what? Um, this isn't really who I am. This doesn't feel like it's really in alignment with who I truly am and the path in which I feel is leading me towards a direction that feels more in alignment, you know, like that feels more like myself. I thought about the fact that, you know, my mother, she raised me for most of my life. My pops, he passed when I was 12, a month after my 12th birthday. And I grew up with my mother and my sister in the household. I mean, those were the two um, individuals who I was around a lot throughout my childhood, as well as, you know, kind of going up into early adulthood. And I was like, man, like, I have a respect for women. I have a certain innate um, appreciation for women because, you know, frankly put, I was raised by women. And I was looking at myself and I said, you know what? I'm going to go on a detox. I made my mind up in that moment. I said, I'm going to go on a little bit of a detox. I'm going to stop going out in the nightlife. I'm going to stop fooling around with women. I'm going to stop. At that point in time, I'm trying to think if I was watching porn at that time. Definitely was watching porn. So I'm going to stop watching porn. And I'm really just going to focus on purifying myself. This is before I had any awareness of what semen retention was, or all these particular different aspects that I'm mentioning in this video. But what ended up happening was my birthday was a few weeks after that, and I ended up breaking the commitment that I made to myself. I ended up going out and drinking, and then at the time I had a friend who videotaped me as I was like passed out, and he showed it to me, And I became frustrated. I was upset. I was like, "Yo, man, why are you filming me? Like, what's the deal with that?" And he's like, "Ah, oh, come on, man. It's all right. It's your birthday. You did this, you did that." And long story short, I at that point, that's when I was like, "Okay, I'm really doing this for real." And I did it. I No masturbation, no porn, no women, no alcohol. I even at that point in time, I got rid of my cable television. It was just this nudge, after being arrested for that public intoxication, of me recognizing like something really, really needs to shift. Something really needs to shift, and this is going to need to come from me. It's not going to come from anybody else. I can't blame anyone outside of myself. I'm not going to blame the police officer, for the verbal confrontation that we got in. I'm not going to blame the situation of the nightlife, or the women, or the drinking, or all these different things. I'm going to take responsibility for the choices and the decisions that I've made. But from that place, I'm going to intentionally choose differently. And I want to say for almost about 5 months, so almost half a year, I was completely clean. And it was one of the most transformational periods of my life. Like, I had so much more energy. Um, I was improving. I had my best, kind of rhythm as far as work was going, as far as within my profession. I really started to appreciate even more deeply um, simple things. And what I mean by simple things, I mean just listening to music, eating delicious food, reading books. I didn't mention that part. I read so many books. At this particular time, I started to come across different um, people, like in this maybe the spirituality space. Whether it's Wayne Dyer or Deepak Chopra at that particular point in time, Neville Goddard or Goodard. Maybe I'm mispronouncing his name. Um, Osho was somebody who I really felt a connection to as far as what he was speaking about. And I'm reading all these books. So I'm getting home from work and I'm reading, I'm reading, I'm reading. And yeah, that was my first experience of what true semen retention was about. And I know I've given you quite a bit of a backstory, but I want to go back to the present moment. And we live in a world where there is so much stimulation, whether it's technological stimulation, whether it's just being in, depending on where you're at in the world, the energetic, you know, um, resonance of that level, or excuse me, of that area. And as someone who is committed to mastery, someone who I've made a commitment to myself, a commitment to say, while I'm here and while I'm alive on this planet, I desire to be a master of this human domain. And what I mean by that is recognizing that I truly desire to tap into my highest potential, you know, and live a purposeful, a meaningful, a very grounded life that is rooted in self love, and allowing self love to be that anchor that really is the catalyst for all of the decisions in which I create and I make in this life. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed in my experience with, semen retention is I have one, much more energy. Two, I feel more vibrant. Three, I am able to um, stay more focused, stay in my lane. Four, certain temptations and things of that nature that used to maybe um, be very prevalent for me. And this could be something as simple as like certain foods and things like that. Um, I'm able to more mindfully see those. And another aspect would be just, just feeling so much more healthier. We all have this energetic vibration, this resonance, this kind of this output that we're putting out into the world. And the higher our vibe or our energy, the more we attract things that are in resonance with that. And the more we can actually trust our thoughts as well. I've written about this before, but why not to trust your thoughts in low mood? If your vibe is low, then your mood and your thoughts are going to be low. If your vibe is high and your energetic expression is higher, then your thoughts, your mood, your vision, these particular things are going to be in resonance with that. So semen retention, again, life force energy. And as men, like, this is so vital and so important to create an ecosystem that continues to cultivate and continues to empower and continues to uplift one's heart, one's mind, one's body, all these different components. Because if we think about this from a human potential standpoint, we are able to tap into higher and more elevated levels of who it is that we are. And I believe that is the most important aspect of this human experience, being rooted and connected to the heart and tapping into one's fullest and highest potential. Because ultimately, that's why we're all here on this planet. I hope this has been useful for you. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any comments, you have anything that questions, feel free to put those into the comment section. And yeah, keep on stepping into your greatness. Keep on being grateful for the present moment. And always remember that mastery is something that comes from the art of always being a student. So the more that we are open-minded and the more that we continue to be students in the cultivation of mastery, then the more openness and the more possibilities we gain to tap into higher and higher levels of mastery. Until next time.